In the story, our main girl believes her husband has never loved her, and it seems the love in his heart was buried long ago, probably under a mountain of unpaid bills and old pizza boxes. The scene shifts to a hospital building, silhouetted against a stunning sunset. Talk about a dramatic backdrop for a soap opera. We see a man maneuvering a wheelchair, and in it sits a stunning woman named Summer, who happens to be the first and only love of Noah DeMarco, the aforementioned husband. The woman in the wheelchair, blonde and beautiful, gives off serious classic movie star vibes that almost seem to glow even in her weakened state. This scene is poignant, capturing the fragility of life intertwined with romantic history, as Noah's eyes reveal a depth of emotion that has been buried for far too long. The man kneels in front of her, offering a cup of water. Summer takes a sip, her gentleness shining through, and she thinks about a poor plant nearby. Talk about multitasking in a moment that could easily overwhelm someone else. Her compassion runs deep, and she decides that the thirsty plant could use a drink too. But instead of giving the remaining water to it, she pours it on the ground like it's an offering to the plant gods, as if to say that even the smallest of creatures deserve care and attention. Guess it's a dry spell for plants, she quips to herself, attempting to instill a sense of humor in the somber context of their surroundings. She insists that the man needs a drink too, nudging him with a playful smile, adding a light-hearted note to an otherwise heavy atmosphere. After all, what's a little dehydration among friends? This playful interaction showcases the bittersweet nature of their relationship, torn between joy and sorrow, laughter and tears. Summer, with her kind-hearted nature and unwavering spirit, reflects on how humans are the lifeline for plants, vulnerable little things needing all the help they can get. Tragically, Summer meets a rather unfair fate. She died young at just 22, her life cut short by cancer, which casts a long shadow over the lives of those who loved her. Her passing shattered Noah entirely. It's like someone ripped out his heart and replaced it with a block of ice. He has become a shell of his former self, taken hostage by his grief. Even after 7 years, Noah remains cold and indifferent, as if he took a course on how to ignore feelings, wearing his sadness like a heavy cloak he can't seem to shed. The man stands up, walks around, and wraps his arms around Summer, comforting her while playfully insisting she surely knows Noah loves her, though the nature of that love has changed in the face of unbearable loss. Meanwhile, everyone knows Summer took her last breath with the grace of a Shakespearean heroine, her spirit lingering like a wisp of perfume, ever present but untouchable. And with Noah still reeling from the loss, it's clear that love stories don't always have happy endings. But this one, a tapestry of love, loss, and the echoes of memories, lingers in the hearts of all who remember, offering a bittersweet reminder that even the most beautiful of loves can be fleeting. 7 years later, a female waiter walks into a bustling cafe, the aroma of fresh coffee and pastries swirling through the air like an enticing invitation. As she prepares to greet the morning rush of customers, she suddenly hears raised voices coming from a nearby room. Curiosity piqued, she tiptoes toward the door, peeking through the crack to spy on what appears to be an intense showdown. Inside, a tall man stands, his posture rigid and menacing. He faces a blonde woman wearing a striking red dress that catches the light just right, making her seem both glamorous and heartbroken all at once. The scene unfolding before the waiter resembles a poorly scripted reality show, and her heart races as she leans in closer to catch every detail of what promises to be a dramatic confrontation. The blonde tears flow down her cheeks, creating a poignant contrast against her luxurious attire. She challenges the man, questioning why he is accusing her of cheating when they both know the child they are discussing is his. The waiter can almost feel the tension radiating from them like static electricity before a storm. The man glares at her, his expression colder than a freezer stocked full of ice cream, and tells her with menace in his voice to get out of his sight, as though her very presence is the fly in his meticulously prepared soup. Desperate to salvage something, the blonde steps closer, touching his chest in a pleading gesture. Immediately, the waiter can feel the gravity of the room shift, but instead of a romantic moment, the man pushes her away. It is akin to shoving aside an unwelcome salesman trying to pitch him on a questionable product. The blonde insists, trembling with emotion, as she argues that this child is undeniably his, her voice growing louder with each passing second, reminiscent of a contestant on a talent show, demanding feedback from the judges. The waiter raises an eyebrow, fully engrossed in the spectacle, and thinks that this drama could easily rival the latest reality television series. Unexpectedly, the man coldly counters her claim, reminding her that he had a vasectomy a year ago, effectively shutting down her argument. It is as if he has handed her a lifetime subscription to No Kids for You, and the waiter stifles a laugh at the absurdity of the situation. The air becomes thick with tension as he accuses her of lying. As it turns out, this is not just a bitter argument about parenthood, it is a full-blown courtroom drama with no judge in sight. The waiter shakes her head, a mix of sympathy and disbelief washing over her as she watches Amelia, the supermodel, try to defend her honor with a dwindling arsenal of reasoning. Amelia stutters, trying to deflect the damning evidence strewn about the floor like discarded lottery tickets. "You expect me to believe that?" He shoots back, crossing his arms defensively, as if preparing for a verbal boxing match. The waiter's mind races as she thinks about how unbelievable things have gotten. The situation reminds her of those Who Wants to Be a Millionaire episodes where contestants dig their own graves with every new answer. The man starts throwing photos of Amelia with other men at her feet, each picture like a ticking time bomb that dismantles her argument. "How can you expect to convince me of anything when the evidence blatantly contradicts your claims?" he roars, his voice echoing in the small room. Amelia, determined but clearly losing ground, trembles as she argues that it was all a mistake, another classic defense in a failing scenario. The waiter feels a swell of pity for her. Amelia is entirely out of her league now, and pleading her case is looking less like a strategy and more like a desperate plea for mercy. It is like watching a badly choreographed dance routine where neither partner knows the steps, stumbling through each moment of tension and conflict. The waiter thinks to herself that this is more twisted than a pretzel factory. The drama is riveting, but the ending is bound to leave someone unsatisfied. Then Noah, the tall man, interrupts her once more, his calmness both frightening and infuriating. He tells Amelia that if she dares to show up in his life ever again, she will have to deal with him. The unspoken warning hangs in the air like a heavy fog, and the waiter almost feels the need to cover her ears, as though bracing for an impending explosion. Suddenly, the dynamic has shifted. He is no longer just an angry partner, but a force to be reckoned with. Amelia, cheeks flushed with a mix of anger and shame, finally stands, her shoulders slumped as if the weight of the world rests upon her. Her head is bent low as she walks toward the door, and it is a heart-wrenching sight. She looks like a prize fighter stumbling out of the ring after an exhausting bout, defeated but still holding on to that flicker of hope. The waitress watches Amelia exit, feeling a tug at her heartstrings, wishing she could offer a word of comfort, or at least some practical advice like, "Maybe you should consider a less dramatic career. What about accounting?" But all she can do is stand in silence, her mind racing. That awkward moment becomes imprinted in her memory, and she does not want to forget this vulnerability, this very human experience. It is a sharp contrast to the polished persona Amelia displays as a model, and the waiter contemplates the layers hiding beneath the surface. Finally, Amelia disappears down the hall, and the waiter turns her attention back to Noah, who stands alone in the room, radiating a dominance that feels tangible. She furtively assesses him, realizing that he carries more emotional baggage than an airport during the holiday season. Terrifying does not begin to cover it. He is a tempest wrapped in an enigma, and the waiter cannot help but think about how the world needs fewer soap opera-style confrontations and more chill coffee breaks to go around. Noah's piercing gaze sends a shiver down the waiter's spine, and she chastises herself for eavesdropping, but she feels oddly compelled to understand the full story. What else might be lurking behind those hardened eyes? She continues to question what fallout will come from this explosive meeting, and whether she will encounter either of them again. After all, Every cup of coffee served in this cafe might soon carry with it the residue of a storm that has just begun. As she steers herself back to her work, she cannot shake the feeling that today has changed more than just one life. It is an unfolding drama, leaving her anxious for the next act. On the bus, our girl thinks about her aunt's birthday and how she wants to take her out to eat to celebrate. She hopes Uncle James is not home because, honestly, nothing ruins a birthday dinner quite like a grouchy husband. As she steps off the bus and heads towards the house, she suddenly hears someone shouting, "Give me the money," along with some colorful swearing that could make even a sailor blush. Does she really want to witness her husband being taken out by the mafia? That is the big question here. Deep down, does she secretly wish he would just disappear, preferably in a dramatic fashion like a magician without a rabbit? Her heart races as she rushes to the door, recalling how her aunt raised her after her parents passed away when she was just a baby. Aunt Frey sacrificed her youth to care for her, making it clear she is not just a warm oven for cookies, but also a life coach of sorts, always offering a piece of advice along with a slice of cake. She barges in, calling out for Aunt Frey, only to stumble upon Uncle James looming in the corner like a storm cloud ready to rain down chaos. Despite his intimidating presence, our girl thinks Aunt Frey is a wonderful woman who deserves the world, and it is really unfortunate that she chose such a thug for a husband. When James is not rotting away in jail, he treats her aunt like a punching bag, and gosh, does she wish she could whisk Aunt Frey away to some tropical paradise where the only thing they have to worry about is getting too much sun and sipping on fruity drinks with tiny umbrellas. She stands her ground, acting as a shield, trying to protect her aunt from the beatings that come too easily from Uncle James. Uncle James shouts at her as if she is the villain in his life story, declaring how dare she defy him after all he has done to raise her. Ungrateful kid, right? But our girl jumps right back, retorting that he did not raise her. Aunt Frey did. And he needs to keep his hands to himself, or else she will report him to the police quicker than he can say criminal mastermind. He scoffs at her, asking when her payday is, claiming he needs a whopping $1,000 right away, or else the mafia will have him swimming with the fishes. With a swift move, he grabs her by the collar of her shirt, his grip tighter than a too small pair of jeans after Thanksgiving dinner when everyone has eaten way too much. He accuses her of secretly hating him and claims she would be thrilled to see him meet his untimely demise. He is not about to give her that satisfaction. The tension thickens like a pot of boiling spaghetti sauce on the stove, bubbling and ready to overflow, and suddenly our girl opens her eyes, not quite sure where she is. Where is she? She notices she is wearing a striking red gown that looks more suited for a Hollywood premiere than a family gathering. Girls around her match her attire, each looking more confused than the last. And one of them pipes up excitedly to say that she is awake, as if she were just the next contestant on a bizarre game show that nobody wants to be part of. Our girl wonders what is going on and who these people are, feeling like she just accidentally walked onto the set of a soap opera that completely skipped the script. A woman with red cropped hair and a sharp blazer strolls over, looking like she just stepped out of a corporate meeting for a fashion magazine, and informs her that her uncle has sold her to the mafia. Her jaw nearly drops to the floor as she processes this shocking piece of information, and she is convinced the woman must be joking. This is not her style of humor, she thinks, and she definitely does not remember signing up for this crazy adventure. The woman gestures around the room, urging her to look around and see for herself, like a host unveiling the latest bizarre reality show. Our girl turns to glance at the other girls, each one looking as confused and terrified as she feels. Rising to her feet, she instinctively tries to make a run for it, believing that escape might be the only option left. But just then, two men suddenly appear as if they are part of an ill-timed magic trick, blocking her way and restraining her movements, making her heart race faster than a roller coaster at its peak. It seems like her escape plan has hit a snag bigger than a roadblock in the middle of a marathon, and as panic begins to seep in, she glances around the room, hoping for a way out that is more creative than anything she had ever imagined in her wildest dreams. I understand your request now. Here is an extended version of Chapter 4 without paragraphs and with the apostrophes removed. Next, our girl finds herself back on her knees, trembling like a bowl of jello on a roller coaster ride that seems to have no end in sight. She is engulfed by a wave of fear, thinking about how scared she truly is, and pondering over how she can possibly escape from this horrific situation, especially since she overheard that they will take them all to the auction place soon. Nervously glancing around the room at the other girls, she cannot help but wonder what happened to them. Did they also find themselves sold by their families to the mafia, or did they simply decide to join a disastrously bad night out that spiraled out of control? Suddenly, the lady with the cropped red hair, who has been orchestrating this nightmare like a conductor in a twisted symphony, commands everyone to get up because it is time to go. She insists that if they do not want to face punishment, compliance is imperative because, after all, nobody wants to experience a punishment worse than being grounded for life. Shortly after, a tall, blonde-haired man with an air of authority approaches the woman and whispers something into her ear, causing her expression to shift. A sly smile creeps across her face, which immediately sends chills down our girl's spine. With a glimmer of mischief in her eyes, she says, "Is that so?" before turning to our girl and leaning in closer. She tells her that it appears today is her lucky day, which sounds more like a cruel joke than any sort of fortune. Confused and anxious, our girl asks what the woman actually means. Is she finally going to be let go? The response she receives, however, is anything but reassuring. The woman explains that an important client named Mr. X has specifically requested a virgin for himself. Since Mr. X holds a special status as a client, they have no choice but to cater to his unusual demands. With a wicked grin, she informs our girl that she is the only virgin remaining, meaning there is no escape from this unsettling fate. Our girl's eyes widen in horror at this revelation. She instinctively backs away from the woman, covering herself defensively as she shouts, "Wait, how did you even know I am a virgin?" The woman, looking completely unfazed, pulls out a set of photos that display our girl without her clothes, demonstrating that this underworld is more organized than she ever imagined. The woman casually explains that they always check the goods before making any purchases. After all, nobody wants to buy a car without checking under the hood or a dress without trying it on. It is all just common sense, or at least what passes for it in this bizarre world. A heavy cloud of dread settles over our girl's head as the reality of her situation hits her like a ton of bricks. The woman taps her chin thoughtfully, emphasizing that she should be particularly careful because in her current condition, her virginity is what saves her from a truly terrible life as a sex slave. Mr. X has a peculiar preference for virgins and uses the girls he purchases only once, as if they are rare collectibles destined to collect dust on a shelf once they have served their purpose. The other girls, she explains carefully, will end up being sold to owners from the Middle East, Europe, and America. They will be locked away for the entirety of their lives, dutifully catering to their owners' whims and demands until the day those owners ultimately tire of them, at which point the girls will be cast aside like unwanted toys. However, the woman reassures our girl that if she can manage to make Mr. X happy, he will consider letting her go, allowing her to return to her previous life. But there is a catch, of course. She must not reveal any secrets of this dark underworld she now finds herself entangled in. If she dares to speak out, she will not be spared. The lady chillingly recounts the story of a girl who was foolish enough to go to the police to report them. Her family was traumatized, having to pick up her body parts from 7 different locations, as if this were a gruesome scavenger hunt. Our girl's heart races with every word. As the terror sinks in, she realizes that she definitely does not want to end up as a cautionary tale in a truly horrifying urban legend. She knows she has to listen to what Margot, the woman with the red hair, has warned her about if she wants to survive this nightmare. Next, a sleek black car drives down a sunny highway, a stark contrast to the cloud of despair hanging over our girl. Inside, she sits still, lost in thought, her stomach churning with worry for Aunt Francine. Is she doing okay? Is she safe? These thoughts swirl around in her head, and she knows she needs to find a way to escape this situation and rush home to help Aunt Francine, who has done nothing but provide her with love and support. Soon, they arrive at a stunning skyscraper that stands tall and proud, a towering edifice that seems to scrape the heavens. Margot, the woman with the striking cropped red hair, leads our girl inside and approaches a sharply dressed man in an expensive suit, introducing him to our girl while claiming it is Mr. X's order as usual, reminding everyone present that Mr. X is not someone to take lightly. With a flick of her wrist, she tells Ramon, the man in the suit, to take care of our girl, noting that she just had a rough day, possibly hinting at the emotional roller coaster they have both endured. Ramon reassures Margot that the girl will be just fine with him, which is about as comforting as a promise made by someone in a scary movie. Margot leans in closer to our girl and emphasizes that if she can please Mr. X, she will be safe and will once again have the opportunity to return to her family. Margot's urgent insistence sends a chill through our girl as she realizes how vital it is for her to seize this opportunity. Our girl reflects on the need for her to survive and make it back to Aunt Francine. Moments later, she feels a push from someone dressed in a suit as she is ushered into a room. The person stiffly informs her that she can relax with some alcohol from the minibar and that Mr. X will arrive in a few hours, which feels just a tad ominous. With that, the suited person closes the door behind them and locks it, casually advising our girl that it would be wise to cooperate and strongly suggesting that she should not even think about attempting to escape. They assure her that they would not hesitate to eliminate her on the spot if she tries to make a run for it, which is certainly an unnerving way to welcome someone into the underworld. As our girl takes in this new reality, she feels a mix of frustration and despair as she realizes that the only exit available to her is a metaphorical one that leads to the air, especially if she has no intention of wanting to continue living. She approaches the edge of the terrace, looking out over the bustling town below. The warm wind blows through the air, and she lets her hair and gown dance in the breeze, making her feel slightly more alive in an otherwise dreary situation. As she gazes down, contemplating the idea that there truly is no way out except to jump from the balcony to her death, tears well up in her eyes. In a moment of clarity, she scolds herself for being such a crybaby, realizing that if she were to die, who would be left to help Aunt Francine? The thought of her aunt suffering alone makes her resolve harden. She cannot be selfish. She must think of Aunt Francine. With determination, she walks back to the minibar at the edge of the room. 2 hours later, after what feels like an eternity of swirling thoughts, she breathes a sigh of relief, appreciating the fact that she remains alive. Margot told her she only needs to serve Mr. X, and then she will be free. Sitting on the floor with a bottle of wine, she thinks about what might happen next. Just then, she hears footsteps approaching the door. Her heart races as she turns around, wondering if Mr. X has finally arrived. As she looks up, she finds herself face to face with a man who has a head full of black hair and piercing amber eyes that seem to see right through her. He raises an eyebrow and thinks to himself, "Isn't this the girl from the Atmosphere Club? What on earth is she doing here?" At first, our girl thought she was dreaming, or perhaps the alcohol had blurred her mind, creating a surreal haze that clouded her senses. As she blinked to focus her gaze, she realized that Noah, the main guy, had recognized her first. Standing before her in a long-sleeved shirt with its sleeves rolled up just enough to reveal the tattoos snaking around his toned arms, he wore a vest and suit pants that added a sharp edge to his mysterious aura. Her heart raced in a way she couldn't entirely comprehend as she wondered whether this was the waiter from the Atmosphere Club. What on earth was she doing here right now? Apparently, he remembered her from that chaotic night, while she had no clue who he really was. A rush of embarrassment and confusion washed over her, and as she got up from the floor, her face flushed with color, and panic swirled inside her. Was he Mr. X? In an attempt to regain some composure, she stuttered a welcome. "Sir," claiming that she had been waiting for him and apologized for the wine spill. The man who was supposed to buy her from the mafia stood before her, his expression unreadable and his presence commanding. He asked her what her name was, and she replied with a shaky voice that her name was River. Sir. He echoed her name with a hint of curiosity. River? Such a unique name. This only deepened her anxiety, and she watched as he momentarily turned away, lost in thought. Her heart raced as she questioned why he had turned his back on her. Was he displeased with her? Did she look horrible because of the wine stain and the disarray in which she found herself? In a moment of desperation, she asked him if he was tired. Sir, would he like to rest first? She timidly reached out to hold his bicep, hoping to grab his attention, yet fearing she might be crossing some invisible line. Making him feel comfortable was crucial in her mind, as it could be the key to winning his favor and ultimately securing her freedom. She felt a glimmer of hope, envisioning that perhaps appealing to him on a personal level could afford her an opportunity to escape this nightmare. He stood there for a moment, thinking, but then shrugged off her attempts, deciding he was less interested in getting to know her than she hoped. He mused that it was too bad she actually looked like a decent woman, but was trapped in the role of a prostitute in this dark, twisted world. He realized Dennis had given her to him as a consolation prize after the commotion caused by Amelia, a name that echoed ominously in the back of his mind. He dismissed any thoughts about who she might be or what had led her to this predicament, and instead focused on the reality that she was a nobody. So why should he care? He held her firm, yet almost gently, as he questioned her further about her earlier statement that she had been waiting for him. Yes, sir, she affirmed desperately, her heart pounding. He asked what she wanted to do now that he was there. The opportunity hung thick and heavy in the air with unspoken potential, and she seized upon it, trying to appease him, but it seemed to fall flat. Frustrated, he made her get off him and stood up, leaving her feeling even more panicked than before. Realizing that she had to act quickly, she called after him, "Sir," and felt the tremor in her voice as she pleaded with him to be intimate with her. In a rush of boldness, she decided to take a drastic measure, one that could either break her or somehow save her. Promising that she would do it well, she felt the weight of nervousness settle into her stomach. A mix of fear and determination to please this man who held her fate in his hands. She could only hope that this boldness would be the way to secure her escape from the chains of bondage that had bound her just moments ago. Her heart raced. Every instinct screamed that she had to make this work because failure was not an option. She felt every nerve in her body come alive as she stood before him, ready to embrace this unexpected path, where her only concern was survival and freeing herself from this hellish nightmare. The stakes had never been higher, and she was prepared to go to any length necessary in hopes of turning her fate around, even if it meant treading dangerous waters. The future loomed uncertain before her, yet a flicker of hope surged within her as she took a deep breath, preparing to confront whatever might come next. They become intimate. When they finish, he sleeps off while she cries. In the morning, we see our guy carrying our girl bridal style, but turns out it was a dream. It's morning and they wake up in bed. Her back is turned to him while he turns to look at her. He asks her, why is she crying? He throws the covers away. She says that she's not crying and she cleans her tears. She sits up and tells him no, she is not crying. He asks her if this is how she works. She is intimate with a man and tries to win his sympathy afterward. Does she need more money? Then he thinks that Dennis must have paid a high price for this prostitute, but he doesn't mind giving her a bonus. Being with her all night made her headache go away. She says that she doesn't just want the money. He thinks that she is a liar. If she didn't need money, why would she sell herself like this? He tells her to come here, and she wonders, what does he want? Does he want to be intimate again because her body is sore? He tells her that she's playing hard to get now. Isn't she the one who wanted to be intimate with him last night? Then he kisses her. He tells her that he will give her a BG tip. She doesn't need to worry about money. She thinks that she doesn't want money, and she hopes to be free soon. They become intimate again. She starts crying again, and he notices. Then she says, "Sir, after this is over, he will free her, won't he?" Margot said he never uses the same woman twice. He should please let her go, and he asks who is Margot. She tells him that Margot brought her here. She said he wanted a virgin. She told her to serve him so he would free her. He never uses the same woman twice. His eyes widen as he says virgin? This girl was a virgin? Impossible, she is and he notices the bedsheet, and he questions her that she is a virgin. So he is her first client? He insults Dennis in his head. She tells him that she is not that kind of girl. She wonders what is going on. Is he acting as if he doesn't understand what's happening? Isn't he Mr. X? He asks her how did she end up here. She says that she was sold by her uncle to the mafia. They would auction her to be a sex slave. But last night, Margot told her that Mr. X wanted a virgin. That's why she was sent here. Margot said that Mr. X usually will free the women he bought if I was satisfied with their service. That's why. He scratches his head and says so. He sees that he misunderstood. He thinks that he must have misunderstood her. The girl us innocent and is a victim. He tells her that he is not Mr. X, but he will make sure she is safe and will never go back to the mafia. She smiles and asks he will? He thinks that no wonder she was crying. This situation must be so traumatizing to her. He says that he didn't know she is not a worker and he has mistreated her. He apologizes. He helps her up and says he will take care of everything. She shouldn't worry. She should just soak in warm water and calm her mind. When she is feeling better, she should call him he will come to her. He runs her a bathe. She settles into the bath, and she asks him for clarity that he isn't Mr. X. In that case, what should she call him? He tells her that his name is Noah, so she should just call him by her name. She realizes that he seems like a good ma, so she is relieved. She thinks Noah. While she is in the tub, G goes to take a quick shower. Noah stood in his penthouse, gazing out at the morning sun, reflecting on the eventful morning that had already unfolded. He thought to himself that he didn't need any extra headaches in his life right now, but he knew he had to talk to Dennis about what had transpired. As he poured himself a cup of coffee, he stared at the brew, his mind preoccupied with the previous night's events. Suddenly, the doorbell rang, breaking the silence. He turned to see a suited man with a bowl cut, holding a bag of clothes. "Sir, I've brought the clothes you requested," the man said. Noah nodded, took the bag, and dismissed the man, telling him he could go. The subordinate reminded Noah about the board of directors meeting that afternoon and the subsequent meeting with the Minister of Mineral and Energy. Noah waved him off dismissively, saying he would attend, but might change his mind later. The man nodded and departed, leaving Noah to his thoughts. Noah walked back to the room where he had left the mysterious woman, tapped on the door, and announced that he had brought her some clothes. She emerged from the shower, wrapped in a towel, and thanked him as she took the bag. Noah turned away, giving her privacy, and headed to the dining table, where he sat down to eat breakfast and drink his coffee. The only sound was the clinking of his cutlery against the plate. Then he turned to see the woman walk in, looking stunning in a baby blue, flowing gown that complemented her figure perfectly. Her hair cascaded down her back in waves, and she wore nude shoes with a golden belt around her waist. Noah's jaw dropped as he stared at her, his face flushing with admiration. He thought to himself that she looked like an upper-class woman, very beautiful. She approached him, bowed, and thanked him again for the clothes. She asked if he would please let her leave now. Noah, however, asked her to sit down and tell him what had happened. He explained that if she left without telling him everything, he wouldn't know how to protect her, and the mafia might come back to get her. She looked terrified by his words. She took a seat across from him at the dining table and began to speak. Noah crossed his arms over his chest, his eyes fixed intently on her, waiting for her to recount her story. As she spoke, Noah's mind flashed back to a memory of a girl on the pavement, throwing water on plants. He remembered thinking that the way she treated those animals and plants showed she had a kind heart. In the present, Noah's face flushed as he realized the girl in his memory was the same woman seated before him. Meanwhile, the woman thought to herself that apparently Noah was not Mr. X, but they had slept together the night before. Noah poured coffee into a cup and handed it to her, urging her to tell him everything. He wondered how someone as pure and sweet as this woman could end up being sold like a commodity. Noah said he understood now, insulting her uncle in his head, and Dennis was no exception, wondering how on earth he ended up dealing with the mafia. He pulled out his phone, telling her to please wait, letting him take care of everything. He made a phone call, walking out of the room, asking Dennis how much he spent on the girl the previous night, wanting to pay him back. Dennis, with blonde hair and blue eyes, sporting a jovial look, said there was no need to pay him back, Noah, as he gave her to him as a gift. So, what did he think? Did she serve him well? Noah replied that she was not that kind of worker. Dennis asked why he didn't tell him he was involved in shady dealings with the mafia. Noah was highly against it, while Dennis supported the idea, saying he was saving those girls from a grisly life of servitude as sex workers to old, fat creeps. Dennis suggested Noah ask her if she would have preferred spending the night another way. This statement angered Noah, who insisted on paying Dennis back, refusing to owe him anything. Dennis named a price, $100,000, which Noah promptly transferred, thinking that River was now free, no longer Dennis's property. He hit his forehead, realizing he had taken her innocence, deciding he better compensate her too. A maid walked in with a tray of food and drinks, announcing that this was the breakfast he ordered. Noah told River to eat, promising to take her home and ensure her safety. She served herself, sat down, and ate. After finishing their meal, they got into a sleek black car, driving away from the apartment complex. In the back seat, they sat quietly, River thinking she hoped her aunt was fine. As they pulled up to the house, River rushed out of the car, shouting "Aunt" as she ran to the house, banging on the door. Noah remained in the car, noticing passers-by stopping to gawk at his vehicle, thinking how tacky they were, acting as if they had never seen cars before. River continued banging on the door, growing frantic as time passed, hearing no response from within. An elderly woman approached her, saying, "River, where had she been? Her aunt was in a coma at the hospital. Didn't she know?" River whipped her head around, widening her eyes as the information sank in, asking what she said. Aunt Francine was in a coma. Her heart beat faster with every passing second as reality crashed down on her. She almost fainted, but Noah caught her, asking the older woman where her aunt was being treated. The woman replied that she was at Metro Hospital. Noah thanked her, walking to the car, where his driver opened the door for them to enter. He instructed the driver to head to Metro Hospital now. River burst into tears in the car, blaming herself, saying if only she were stronger, she could have brought her aunt away from him. Noah thought that, despite her traumatic experience, River cared more about others. He texted William, canceling the BIOD meeting, saying he had something urgent to attend to. He reached for River, bringing her head to rest on his chest, patting her gently. The couple pulled up in front of the Metro Hospital, and River realized that her worst fears had come true. Uncle James had hurt Aunt Francie so badly that she was hospitalized. He had run before the cops arrived and was still at large. As the car stopped, River jumped out and rushed to the front door, frantic and worried about her aunt's condition. She tried to open the ward doors, but they were locked, and she cried out her aunt's name through the halls. Finally, she found the right door and rushed in. She immediately realized that she owed her swift entry to Noah's help. Her aunt was in a terrible state, with bandages covering her body and tubes sticking out everywhere. She lay pale and lifeless on the bed. River apologized for not being by her side when the incident occurred. She trembled as she gripped her aunt's hand tightly. Noah watched the scene unfold before approaching her. A doctor entered the room, addressing River as Miss River Healy. The doctor delivered devastating news. Aunt Francie had suffered severe brain injuries and was now in a coma. River learned that her aunt had been treated at the hospital for 4 days, and the medical bills were astronomical due to their lack of insurance. River looked at the bill, massaging her temples as she thought. William appeared, tapping Noah on the shoulder, reminding him that the meeting with the minister couldn't be rescheduled. Noah instructed William to assist River, cover her aunt's medical bills, and provide whatever else they needed. William nodded, asking if he should report everything to Noah, who replied that it wasn't necessary. William turned to River, suggesting they have lunch together to help her regain energy. River stopped crying, fear filling her eyes as she questioned William's identity. He introduced himself as Mr. DeMarco's assistant, tasked with staying by her side and helping with everything she needed. River smiled, thanking him, and William informed her that Mr. DeMarco was attending an important meeting with a minister. William took the file from River's hand, offering to pay the hospital bills to ensure continued treatment for her aunt. River argued that it wasn't his responsibility, but William reassured her that Mr. DeMarco had more than enough money to cover the expenses. He walked away to settle the bills, leaving River waiting outside the door. As she waited, she saw Noah getting into his car and driving away. She wondered why he had paid for her aunt's hospital bills so generously and decided she must thank him. River rushed out of the hospital, running towards the car and screaming Noah's name at the top of her lungs. River runs after Noah's car, shouting his name, panting and looking frantic, trying her best to catch up, but to no avail. Breathless, she thinks she hasn't had the chance to thank him for paying her aunt's medical bills. In the car, Noah reads a blue file, oblivious to River's pursuit. Tired, River turns back, facing reality, and walks back into the hospital, realizing the doctor tried his best to help her aunt. But she's in a terrible condition. River stumbles upon William, who nods reassuringly. 2 weeks pass, and River kneels beside her sick aunt's bed, unaware of the amount spent on her aunt's medical treatment, not daring to ask. After 2 weeks, the doctor advises moving her aunt to a long-term care facility for better care, with everything already paid for, leaving River without a financial worry. She wonders if this is Noah's way of apologizing for that night, but realizes it wasn't his fault, as he misunderstood her profession. River ponders if Noah hires women often, but shakes her head, irritated, wondering why she's thinking about it, as it's none of her business. River wants to thank Noah and inform him she intends to repay every cent spent on her aunt's medical bills, but lacks his contact information. Her phone rings, and she's shocked to see Noah's picture, identifying him as Noah DeMarco, businessman and owner of Blackwater Holdings. She recalls William mentioning his name and wonders how she forgot. River decides to find Noah and thank him directly, but lacks his phone number or email. William seems to anticipate her aunt's needs, paying for everything before River can, making it unnecessary for them to meet. River sighs, closes her eyes, and thinks that if Noah's actions stem from guilt, she must stop him, as she feels bad knowing he saved her from the mafia. River convinces herself she must talk to Noah, stop him from choosing expensive care facilities, and repay him. She decides to take care of her aunt at home, as doctors said there's nothing special being done at the care facility, and they just need to wait for her aunt to wake up. The next day, River walks into a building, thinking she's found Noah's workplace, and hopes to meet him. She searches for information, confirming Noah works from this building, and decides to ask to meet him. River enters the lobby, seeing men and women in corporate outfits, and wonders if she can ask to meet Noah directly, or maybe ask to meet William first, thinking it might be easier. A security guard approaches her, asking if he can help, and River shyly asks to see Mr. Noah DeMarco, wanting to thank him for his kindness. The guard gestures to the side, asking if she has an appointment, and River shakes her head, explaining she doesn't have his contact information and hopes to see him when he passes by the lobby. The guard tells River this might be her lucky day, as Noah rarely visits the office, usually being busy on business trips, and he's currently in his office on the 30th floor. River smiles in relief, saying she's happy and hopes to see him later, and the guard allows her to wait on a nearby couch. River waits, watching the clock tick, and thinks it's already 2 p.m. Wondering if Noah needs to come down for lunch, her stomach hurts from hunger, and she can't leave now, fearing she might miss him. Just then, the elevator dings and Noah and William exit, with River smiling as she sees them approaching. She gets up, walks towards them, and says, "Noah, sir?" He turns, looking surprised, and River smiles tensely, saying she needs to talk to him. As she moves forward, she crashes onto the floor, and Noah rushes to her, shouting for someone to call Doctor Kim, telling him to come see her at home. William nods, and Noah carries River bridal style, dashing out of the building and into his car, barking orders to everyone saying they should go back home, not wanting any gossip about the reporters seeing this girl faint in his office. His heart beats tensely as he forces himself to breathe, remembering when his late wife fainted, and he caught her, recalling how wrecked he was when he put her in bed. River wakes in a bed of gray covers, blinking her eyes as she tries to establish where she is, asking herself where she is. Our guy looks crossed, leaning against the wall, crossing his hands over his chest, saying she's in his place. She gets up in a flash, apologizing. He tells her she passed out in his office. He couldn't let her be because people will gossip. He brought her here because it's closer than the hospital. She bows her head in shame, apologizing for troubling him. He asks if she has a health condition. He got a doctor to come and check her, but the doctor couldn't find anything. She shakes her head, avoiding eye contact, saying no, she's fine. Perhaps she was just, but she cuts herself short. He notices, asking we're just. She says she's hungry, hasn't eaten all day, but couldn't leave the lobby because she wished to see him. Worried if she left to get food, he would walk by, and she would miss the chance to meet him. He looks annoyed, asking if she wanted to meet him. Why? Does she need more money? She shakes her head, saying no, it's actually the opposite. She wanted to ask him to stop paying for expensive treatments for her aunt. She won't be able to pay him back. He gestures to her, asking why would she pay him back. She stands up from the bed, saying she doesn't want to be indebted to anyone. He has saved her from the mafia. She holds his hand, looking into his eyes, speaking with all honesty. He looks at her confused, saying, huh. She says they left her alone after that day. It means Margot was telling the truth. She's now free. She knows he paid a lot of money to his friend in exchange for her freedom. He thinks this girl came to ask for more money, but it's actually the opposite. She thought she's indebted to him for purchasing her from Dennis. What a strange way of thinking. She pauses, humming, saying she knows he feels guilty because he slept with her that night. They both misunderstood. She really doesn't blame him for what happened, so he can stop compensating for what happened. He smirks, saying, is that so? She falls on her knees, saying, yes, that's why, please. He should ask William to stop the expensive stay at White Willow Care Facility for her aunt. Doctors told her they're not doing anything differently. It's better if she moved her aunt to a more affordable care facility, so she can pay for it. He nods, saying very well. She looks relieved by his words. Then he takes her hand, pulls her out of the room, saying she better eat something first. They can continue their conversation later. He doesn't want her to pass out. She looks surprised by his actions. After she's eaten, both of them sit in a study across each other, with a blue file in her hand. She asks, what is this, sir? He says that's the contract he gave Amelia Denzel, his ex-fiancé. She must know who she is. She looks surprised, asking if his fiancé is Amelia Denzel. He looks crossed, saying ex-fiancé. She nods, saying, ah, that's right. Then she remembers how he treated her. She says, wait, was that him that night? He says in a dismissive manner that he needs a woman to become his replacement wife who will meet all his needs as a man and give birth to his child. Amelia agreed with all his terms, but then she betrayed him, and now he's looking for her replacement. She says she doesn't understand. He's looking for a wife. So what does that have to do with her? He says he's looking for a replacement wife and not a wife. She says, oh, he means that he's looking for a wife to replace Miss Denzel. He grows angry, saying nonsense. She bows her head, apologizing if she offended him. He gets up from his chair, saying apologies. He wasn't angry at her. He was just upset when he thought about that damn woman trying to trick him. He will not hurt her, he promises. And he's not a brute. He reaches for her, pats her head, unless she's just as dumb as Amelia, and tries to trick him as well. She says thank you. She won't do anything to trick him. He nods, smiles, saying good. And as he said earlier, he needs a woman to become a replacement wife. The woman he loves passed away, and he must continue his life for his mother's sake, his family, and his lover. Since Amelia betrayed him, he canceled the contract he made with her, and now he's offering her a role. He goes to the window, looks through it, saying they will get married, and she will be his wife. She asks him why he chose her. She will decide on her answer after he tells her his reason. He remembers all those times he had seen her be nice to nature and be kind as an overall human being. He says that he has investigated the kind of person she is, and she was raised as an orphan, raised by her aunt since she was a toddler, and she is a good woman and a hard worker. She loves her aunt very much, and both of them have been struggling for many years. He feels that she is a woman with a good heart, the kind of person that he can share his life with, as long as they respect each other's boundaries. He thinks this contract will not cause either of them any losses. He will get what he needs, a stable family, and especially he could bring his children into this world. He will get a good life, protection, wealth. This is beneficial for both of them. After several years, if she wishes to leave, she would have enough money to live comfortably for the rest of her life. She says that she sees, and she thinks that the way he spoke so calmly and in a businesslike tone, he really doesn't have any special feelings for her. Then she asks him if he will send her away after several years, or will there be a possibility for her to stay and keep being his wife. He says that the first term of this contract is 2 years. And after she gives birth to his children, it means she needs to fulfill the role of a surrogate mother, to carry them and give birth to them, taking care of her body, to make sure they will be born healthy, and breastfeed them for 2 years. And he will take care of her and provide the best to make sure she performs her role well. If after the first term ends and she wants to leave, or he feels that he no longer needs her, they will get a divorce, and she will get her $10 million. However, if she wants to stay, based on their mutual agreement, for every year that they stay married, she will get $1 million. If they get divorced 5 years later, she will leave with $5 million. They will have a sit-down every year to review their relationship and decide whether or not to continue. She nods and says she understands. Then she thinks that how dare she think he likes her. She is just a plain girl from a poor background, and the woman he offered this role to previously was a supermodel, and she is sure his deceased lover was someone from his social class as well. And then she asks him where should she sign. Then she thinks that Noah was right. This is a mutually beneficial contract. He looks at her pensively and says nothing. She asks him why is he looking at her like that? He says that she just accepted it so casually. Doesn't she want to mull over it before she makes a decision or consult a lawyer? Maybe she wants to get more money. She says that he is right by saying that this agreement will benefit them both. She was just surprised by the sudden offer. She says that, to be honest, she is flattered that he actually considered her good enough to offer her to be his wife. She didn't know what to say. He tips her chin upward and says that he is glad she is not someone who is playing hard to get, or play any games at all. He likes that she is open and humble. He thinks they can live together well. If she becomes his wife, she should never foster any hope that someday he will love her and forget his deceased lover. It will not happen. He wants her to be clear with her expectation and their agreement. This is a marriage of convenience. He is offering her. She says, of course. She says that she wouldn't dare hoping a man like him will fall in love with someone like her. He tells her good. This is just the contract draft for her to read. Tomorrow his lawyer will prepare everything and they will soon get married. She says soon. He says that as she knows he has broken his relationship with Amelia. Unfortunately, his mother doesn't know it yet. He is still thinking of a way to tell his poor mother that her broken son still hasn't been able to move on, as she has been hoping for. The wedding arrangement, etc., are ready. He just needs a bride. It will be held in 2 weeks. She puts her hand to her heart and looks down. He says that he will bring her to see his mother and explain everything. He is sure she will understand and will not be too sad. If he brought a replacement bride and the wedding still goes on, she asks, is that so? He asks her, do they have a deal? She thinks that when she accepted his offer, she was not being honest. She told Noah that she agreed to marry him because she benefits from his offer. That will give her a life in luxury and protection. The truth was, she accepted his proposal because she had fallen in love with him. At that time, she didn't know for sure what she was feeling for him. Was it feeling indebted because he saved her from the mafia, or gratitude because he had helped her and her aunt, or was it admiration because he was so handsome and wealthy? She didn't know. What's clear was that she was secretly happy just being able to keep seeing him and stay with him. if he needed her by his side to be his wife or the mother of his children. And he will gladly fill the role, maybe someday, after they live well together for a long time. He could see her as a woman. Through this monologue, girls help her get ready by fixing her makeup, her hair, her outfit, and her overall appearance. Maybe he could love her even only a little. Next, we see that her hair is put downward and she wears a cute yellow flowing dress. After some time, we see a black car drive into an expensive compound. Our girl steps out of the car wearing a pink gown, and our guy welcomes her with a handshake and says thank you. They stand hand in front of luxurious glass doors. Our girl gives us a monologue that she was given a crash course on social etiquette by a professional tutor. Before Noah took her to see his mother, she was nervous. They see a woman wearing green sitting in a gazebo. She has brown hair and bright green eyes. They step up to her and she looks surprised that this is River. Our girl smiles and says hello. She is pleased to meet her, and her name is River Healy. The older woman says that she is Charlotte DeMarco, Noah's mother. She tells them to have a seat. Then a maid walks toward the group holding a tray full of tea. She asks what happened to Amelia, why she never responded to her texts and calls. Our guy stands up and says that this is River. She is 21 years old. She is physically and mentally fit and comes from a good family. She has agreed to marry him next week. As the story drags on, Char asks that her son got a vasectomy. But why? Doesn't he want to have children? He says that he has already had them with Summer. They just need to be born, and he doesn't need more. River is willing to give birth to the children that Summer left behind for him, and he will raise them. That's why he decided to marry her. She will be his wife. The words replay in her head, and she thinks that she always likes the sound of it when Noah calls her his wife. And she guesses his mother realized her sincere feelings for her son, and she didn't object to the relationship. The male lead suddenly makes a surprising announcement. Holding on to our girl's hand and giving her a warm, meaningful look, he calmly tells his mother that he plans to marry her. He explains that she's willing to give birth to the children left behind by his late fiancé, and he wants to raise them as his own. Across the table, we notice how pleased she looks just hearing him call her his wife. In fact, we get to hear her thoughts. She's always liked how that word sounds when he says it. She seems to believe his mother understands her feelings too, and that's probably why there's no objection. The older woman then officially welcomes her into the family, joking that she hopes she can handle her stiff son. But that doesn't sit well, and our girl quickly defends him. He thanks her softly for that little support, touching her shoulder before turning to his mother. With work waiting, he tells them to go over the wedding plans, just a light overview, and assures her they'll talk later. He kisses her head, promises to come to dinner, and leaves. After he walks out, the mood becomes slightly more personal. The elegant older woman, who we're told comes from a blue-blooded European background, now focuses her attention. We're as curious as she is when she suddenly asks how the couple met. The question makes her pause, tea in hand, unsure of what to say, since they never talked about how to tell that part of their story. But then, as if sensing her discomfort, the question is pulled back gently. She says she only asked out of curiosity, wanting to know more about the person soon joining their family. She starts listing off all the things she's curious about, family, hobbies, dislikes, but then quickly apologizes, saying Noah had told her not to interrogate. She smiles, changes the topic, and says they should just focus on the wedding instead. Our girl quietly thanks her and puts down her cup, clearly touched. Later that day, her driver William drives her to the home she grew up in so she can pack up her things. From now until the wedding, she will be staying in one of Noah's many properties. As she walks through the familiar house, she's hit with the reality that this is her final goodbye. With the driver's help, she packs what she can along with her aunt's things. At that moment, it sinks in how little they actually have. Not much is worth taking. Quietly, she looks around one last time, and when he reminds her it's time to go, she finally steps out. She tells herself this is the right thing, especially with her uncle still out there. Her safety matters now, and once her aunt recovers, they'll live together again. The new mansion she arrives at is where he spends weekends when he's not working. We see her trying to settle in, sipping tea at a small dining table with a prenup contract in hand. According to the lawyer, everything is well detailed. For example, Article 3 says they won't share a bedroom and will each have their own space. Article 7 lets her study and work as long as it doesn't affect her duties or his family's image. Article 11 allows her access to every part of all his homes except for his bedroom, which must remain private. Article 15 gives her the best living conditions, monthly money, and even a $10 million gift after the children, who aren't biologically hers, turn 2. These are the children he was meant to have with his late fiancé. She quietly wonders what that woman looked like. Was she really that beautiful? There's no photo around, but even a famous supermodel couldn't break Noah's loyalty. Still, she tells herself not to be greedy like that. His heart belongs to someone else, and it always will. What matters now is that she can stay by his side and give him what he needs. Later at the gown store, she sits quietly while the head tailor gets ready to attend to her. The woman stands tall and smiles, saying it's a shame someone as beautiful as her has to wear an off-the-rack gown. She even mentions how the future Mrs. DeMarco should have had a custom piece, ordered 6 months in advance and adorned with thousands of gems. The tailor sighs, explaining she once made a dress fit for a princess, but it was already taken by someone named Amelia, so it can't be altered for this wedding. She walks around the showroom, gently touching the fabrics and praising the designs. She smiles softly, saying she's just honored to wear whatever is available. She doesn't want a dress that was made for someone else. Still, in the back of her mind, she remembers how that Amelia was supposed to marry our guy and that her dress was among the most expensive ever made. One of the junior tailors walks over, clearly with an idea. She mentions a pretty dress she spotted in the storage room while cleaning earlier, something that's been left untouched for years. She quickly heads back and returns with a short, elegant gown. It sparkles, perfect for his late fiancé wedding. As the head tailor looks at it, her memory flickers. She remembers a woman named his late fiancé wearing it and saying how much she loved it. Her face falls for a second. His late fiancé never made it to her wedding day. Our guy never got to see the dress either. But after a moment, she shakes the memory away and turns to her guest, asking if she'd like to try it on. She looks surprised but excited and asks if it's really okay. The tailor warmly agrees. Not long after, she steps out wearing the dress, glowing, but the quiet moment is broken by a sudden knock. Our guy's at the door, knocking again and again. One of the staff hurries to stop him, telling him he can't enter because the bride is changing. It's bad luck. But he walks in anyway, saying he came to pick her up since she wasn't replying to his texts. The moment he sees her, he freezes. She quickly apologizes, saying she got too caught up and lost track of time. He doesn't smile. Instead, he asks if she plans on wearing that dress. She hopes he'll like it, but instead he tells her to wear a regular one and questions why it took her so long. She bows her head slightly and apologizes again. From the corner of the room, the tailor watches him, thinking he either doesn't believe in superstitions or maybe he simply doesn't care about this wedding. She quickly offers to change into another gown. Even though she loves the one she has on, it's clear he doesn't. She heads back to the changing room without complaint, and the tailor rushes over to help her pick something else. As she helps, a thought crosses her mind. Maybe he recognized the dress. Maybe he knew it belonged to his late fiancé. And maybe, just maybe, that's why he looked so bothered. The tailor silently curses herself, hoping she didn't just make things worse. Eventually, they leave the boutique together and sit in the car. He turns to her and asks if she signed the agreement. She says she did and hands it over. He takes a look, nods, and says the wedding is in 2 days. After the honeymoon, she'll begin lessons to help her become a proper woman of high society. She simply nods. She knows she doesn't really have a choice. She looks at him, still deep in thought, and quietly marvels that this man, so sharp and unreachable, will soon be her husband. We're introduced to the bride, our girl, on what seems like the grandest day of her life. The wedding venue is glowing with important people from different places, dressed in fine clothes and whispering praises about the occasion. Behind the scenes, our girl quietly sits as the hairstylist gently finishes her look. Everything around her feels dreamy, almost unreal. Even though this marriage has nothing to do with love, the wedding itself still shines with elegance, the kind you'd expect only for a princess. The stylist, in a cheerful tone, shares a fun observation about the bride's flower choice, saying she thought lilies or hydrangeas would suit her better than red roses. When the bride reacts with surprise, the stylist explains that her mother is a florist who taught her about the meaning of different flowers and how they sometimes reflect a bride's personality. Our girl stares into the mirror, admires the work, and politely thanks her. However, her smile slowly fades as she quietly recalls that none of the wedding details, including the flowers, reflect her taste. They were chosen for someone else. In the next moment, something odd happens. A second stylist appears and quietly pulls the cheerful one outside into the hallway. She warns her not to speak so much or get involved in private matters. At first, the younger one doesn't understand, but that confusion quickly disappears once the other begins to explain. She shares a quiet gossip, one that has been circling around the venue like smoke in the air. Apparently, the bride wasn't the first choice for this wedding. The real bride had left a month ago after ending things with our guy. It wasn't some sudden drama, but rather a hidden storm. The woman was said to have suffered emotional pain in the relationship and couldn't go through with the marriage. The family, unwilling to face shame, decided to find someone else to replace her. And now, here stands the replacement, fully unaware of what she's been placed into. The first stylist is shocked, covering her mouth, trying to process what she just heard. Just when we think we've seen enough behind-the-scenes chaos, the bride herself appears again, softly asking if they can now head out. The first stylist, clearly nervous but trying to hide it, nods and helps her along. The second stylist joins in as they guide her toward the ceremony. As she walks outside, the air shifts. Everything feels both too quiet and too loud. She looks at the crowd, many of whom came not for her but for the man beside her. Yet with each step, she holds her head high and makes her way to the altar. Standing in front of our guy, she listens to the priest, responds to the vows, and lets the moment carry her through. He lifts the veil, kisses her, and the crowd claps loudly as if everything is perfect. The ceremony ends and the couple walks out together, now officially husband and wife. From our view, it all looked lovely, like something out of a dream. Yet deep inside, we sense that this is only the beginning of something far more complicated. She quietly reminds herself that there'll be no honeymoon, just rest at his beach house, because he's far too busy. The crowd continues to celebrate, but we're left wondering, did she marry a man, or did she just step into someone else's unfinished story? Right after the celebration, we find the newlyweds sitting quietly in the back seat of the car. Our girl brings up how well the wedding went, and our guy nods in agreement, already flipping open a folder in his hand. At first, it looks normal, but we can already sense a slight shift in her mood as her eyes fall on that document. She leans a little closer and softly asks if something very important came up at work. He simply replies that everything is important, now turning his face to hers. She slowly reaches out to hold his hand, eyes locked on his, and begins to question him. Is this really something that can't wait? Will the world crash if he rests just this once? Is there any decision so urgent today that people's lives depend on it? One by one, she asks, not with anger, but with gentle concern. He pauses, then admits there's nothing that critical. He wonders if she just wants his attention, and she quickly says that it's not that. She's just worried. If he's working even on a day like this, she can't imagine how hard he works on a normal one. So she proposes a deal. No work this weekend. Just rest. Just be her husband and enjoy these 2 days. That's all she's asking. He leans back, arms folded, listening. Then, out of nowhere, he chuckles and asks if his mother put her up to this. Eventually, he agrees. No work this weekend. But in return, she has to keep him busy with something fun. Just like that, the folder is set aside and we can finally breathe. Not long after, they arrive at one of his homes, a place so quiet that even the breeze sounds like it's whispering. A few minutes later, he steps out to the balcony and finds her there, still in her wedding dress. When he asks why she hasn't changed, she says she wanted to catch the sunset first. And from our view, it's clear. No expensive gown or luxury setting could match the happiness in her heart. Even though the wedding wasn't meant for her, and the dress wasn't sewn for her, this moment feels truly hers. Soon the chef appears with a soft smile, handing them glasses of wine. Our guy thanks him and passes one to her. They gently clink their glasses, and just when we think things are settling, he casually says they should have a bath together after the sunset, and just when you think you've seen it all, she drops the cup. It crashes on the floor, spilling wine everywhere. Her hands shake as she scrambles to clean it, but he stops her. She's now Madame de Marco, he reminds her. No more chores. All she has to do is care for him. He stretches out a hand and helps her up gently. She apologizes again for being clumsy, and he calmly pours her more wine, using his own glass this time. He tells her to enjoy the sunset before the world goes dark, and as she accepts the glass, a wild blush takes over her face. From our view, it's easy to guess what she's thinking. Sharing his glass? Was that an indirect kiss? But then again, what they've already done is way more than kissing. And now, after the sunset, a bath together? Just the thought alone sends her mind spinning. In the next scene, the sun finally disappears, and our guy places the wine bottle and glass gently down by the balcony. Without warning, he lifts her into his arms, saying it's already too dark to stay outside. From our view, we can almost feel her heart racing wildly. She looks away, clearly nervous, while her face turns bright pink. She's trying so hard to stay calm, but it's obvious he notices everything. He just smiles quietly at her flustered reaction. Carrying her into the house, he carefully sets her down on top of a cabinet. She stays frozen in place, still avoiding his eyes, like it might stop her from blushing more. What follows next catches her off guard. He leans in and kisses her, and although it surprises her at first, she doesn't resist. He then explains how he wants to erase the memory of their first moment together, one that happened during a painful time. He admits he didn't understand her situation then, and we can tell those words truly calm the storm in her mind. As if to fix everything, he asks her to think of tonight as their real first night. He promises to treat her kindly, while also teaching her how to treat him just as well. Then he starts to unzip her dress with steady hands and returns to kissing her, this time more deeply, as his touches slowly become more personal. We watch as things grow more intimate. He notices how new she is to this and gently tells her to copy what he's doing. He explains that anything that makes her feel good will do the same for him. She listens carefully, and soon, soft sounds escape her lips as she starts to enjoy it. They continue without pause, fully caught in the moment together. Just when we think the night is over, they both get into the bathtub and continue there. Everything feels quiet, warm, and new, as if this really is their first night, just like he said. We're brought into a night that feels nothing short of magical for our new bride. She admits to herself that she never imagined intimacy could be so gentle, so fulfilling, so full of emotion. It seems he truly wants to make her forget the memory of their first time together, the one that came from a misunderstanding and left her heart unsettled. This time, as their bodies become one, a new feeling takes over. She feels safe, wanted, and even though doubt creeps in, wondering if he had once looked at someone else the same way, it fades quickly. His kisses and his closeness bring her back to the present. It is her he holds now. And even if his heart hasn't fully opened, she tells herself that maybe one day it will. Perhaps the moment she started falling for him was when she learned about his past, about the deep love he once had, and how he still clings to it in quiet pain. The next morning, we see her wake up slowly to the soft sound of birds chirping. For a moment, she seems unsure of her surroundings, until her eyes catch the wedding bouquet resting quietly in the corner of the room. Everything rushes back. The wedding, the night, the emotions. Her hand reaches out to the other side of the bed, only to find it empty and cold. Her heart sinks a little. She remembers his words clearly. He had said they wouldn't be sharing the same room, so he must have gone back to his own after everything. She tries to laugh it off, but it doesn't quite reach her eyes. She scolds herself gently, reminding herself of her place. She's not the woman he once loved, nor the dream girl he could have chosen. Yet, he picked her. And maybe that should be enough. As she bites her lips to stop the wave of emotions, she puts on a smile, one that doesn't come easily, and decides not to ask for more than what he's already given. She gets ready without saying a word and walks quietly to the dining area. And there, she finds him, sitting at the table, already deep into work, as if the night before had been just another page in a long story. The next morning begins with a polite exchange of greetings. He asks if she slept well, and she quickly responds with a small smile, saying the room was so comfortable she slept like a baby. She then tries to keep the conversation going, pointing at the papers in his hand and asking if he's reading something interesting. He glances up, then explains that it's a proposal from a business partner and he'll be flying to China next week to meet with a new supplier. He goes on about numbers and decisions, but somewhere along the way, she gets a little lost. She doesn't quite follow, but she nods quietly, hoping her effort to stay present shows. Then he adds something that grabs her full attention. After he returns, they'll begin the insemination procedure. Tests will be done while he's away, and his mother will keep her company. Her face lights up a little. She tells him how kind his mother is, and he teases that she'll be treated well as long as she treats him well, too. Later that day, she visits her Aunt Francine, who still hasn't woken up. Sitting by the hospital bed, she starts to speak softly. She says how much she misses hearing her voice, how thankful she is that she's getting the best care that's now all being paid for by her husband. She gently tells her aunt about the marriage, sharing our guy's name like a secret that's been waiting to be told. She says he's kind even though he doesn't love her, and that it makes her happy just being near him, sleeping beside him. She talks about his past, how he lost the woman he loved 7 years ago, and how that love still lives in him even now. Her voice drops as she admits that sometimes she does feel jealous, but each time, guilt follows right behind it. If she can ease even a tiny bit of his pain, that alone is enough. We learn more about her new life when she recalls a conversation with her mother-in-law, who asked if she had any hobbies. Our girl said no, explaining that she never had the time. Her days used to be filled with work and nothing else. Now, with so much free time, everything feels unfamiliar. Her mother-in-law simply laughs and tells her to take it slow, to find something she enjoys little by little. She even suggests that our girl try horseback riding with our guy at their Texas ranch, or maybe gardening. Our girl nods, curious about both. As the older woman sips her tea, she tells our girl that they'll be spending the day together at her favorite spa. With a warm smile, she promises they'll have a lovely time, and for the first time in a while, our girl feels something she can't quite name. Maybe it's comfort. Maybe it's the beginning of belonging. We're introduced to a moment that feels both heavy and warm. After following through with the agreement, our girl quietly undergoes the embryo procedure, and when the doctor confirms that it's successful, she notices his face shift. He doesn't say anything, but she sees it. As they walk out of the hospital, the air is cooler now. Without a word, our guy shrugs off his coat and wraps it around her, lightly scolding her for not bringing one. Her face lights up with a blush, but she just smiles and apologizes softly. The ride back is quiet, not awkward, just quiet. She leans her head against the window and watches the city blur by. He scrolls through his phone, occasionally glancing over. When their eyes meet, he doesn't say anything, just holds her gaze for a second longer than necessary. It feels like something's hanging in the space between them, but neither of them reaches for it. Not yet. In the next scene, we get to know that things haven't been smooth for a while. He's been busy and has left her alone more than he meant to, and apparently his mother didn't keep quiet about it either. The walls in their house feel a bit colder now, and dinner isn't as filled with conversation as it used to be. She stopped waiting up for him, but he still notices when the hallway light is left on. She still makes coffee for 2 every morning, even if only 1 cup gets touched. But just when we think he's about to explain more, he suddenly tells her they're heading to Australia for a business trip that same night. She blinks. Not in disbelief, but in that slow way people do when they're trying to process something too fast. There's barely any time to respond. A suitcase is already packed. Her passport is ready. How did he even manage that? As they approach the car already waiting for them, she stumbles out in surprise. She's never traveled abroad before, not even been on a plane. The wind tugs at her hair, and for a second she just stands there, eyes wide. He responds calmly, reminding her that being his wife means this will be the first of many. She looks at him then, not saying anything, but her fingers tighten slightly around the coat still draped over her shoulders, and somehow, that says enough. The car ride is quiet, yet there's a kind of invisible conversation happening. He leans against the window with a blank face, but through the reflection he catches her starting at him. He finally asks why she's looking at him that way, and even though she waves it off and says she's just happy, we can tell it's more than that. He says nothing more, only thinking to himself how easy she is to read. Everything she feels shows so clearly. He turns back to the window, but leaves her with a small comment. It's good that she's happy. After what feels like a long journey, they arrive. The sun is shining brightly, almost like it's welcoming them. Tall buildings and stunning views greet them as they look around, and she stands still for a moment, taking it all in. Her eyes widen as if trying to capture every single thing at once. For someone seeing the world for the first time, it's all a bit overwhelming, but in the best way possible. In the next scene, we see them enjoying the beautiful scenery when our guy suddenly asks for her phone. Before she can even understand why, he takes it from her hand and says he'll take her picture. He counts down and snaps a few shots before handing it back. She's pleased with the results and asks if he wants one taken too, but he casually mentions he's already been here many times and took plenty of photos in the past. Although that wasn't the reply she hoped for, she doesn't complain. Instead, she quietly thinks about how this is their first trip together, and she really wanted a picture with him. Nevertheless, she lets it go when he says she can keep taking pictures while he waits on a nearby bench. She turns away and begins walking slowly, lifting her phone every now and then to capture different angles of the same breathtaking view. Her steps are light, but there's a lingering ache tucked quietly in her chest, one she doesn't show. The place is peaceful. Birds flutter across the blue sky, sunlight dances on the water, and soft laughter floats from other tourists nearby. She tries to focus on all that. Her fingers tap the screen gently, one photo after another, each one holding her smile just right. But every now and then she glances back at him. He's sitting with one arm stretched along the back of the bench, watching her, though he looks away each time their eyes meet. It makes her wonder if he notices how carefully she's framing everything. Not just the scenery, but this moment, their moment. Even if he won't be in the picture, she wants to remember the way he looked today, the way the sunlight hits his shoulder, the coat still draped over hers, the quiet way he watches her. She captures one last photo before turning back, pretending she's done, even though her heart still wishes for one more frame, with him beside her. When she reaches the bench, he stands up without saying much and checks the time, then nods toward the path. They have somewhere else to be. She follows, still holding the phone loosely, the latest photo open on the screen. It's her favorite so far, not because the view was perfect, but because in the corner, just out of focus, he's sitting in the background. She hadn't noticed while taking it, but now that she sees it, she doesn't look away. From the audience's POV, this is the moment when her smile starts to fade. She begins wondering if he would act the same way if it was his late fiancé beside him instead. Even though the woman from his past is no longer around, the thought still makes her feel small. She remembers what their relationship really is, a business arrangement, and tells herself she should know better. Still, it hurts. After a while, she joins him on the bench, softly sharing that she's taken enough photos and really liked how they turned out. He offers to get her a good camera if she's into photography, but she quickly turns it down, saying it's just a small hobby and her phone is more than enough. Their conversation takes a quiet turn when he asks about her hobbies. She admits she had no real answer when his mother asked the same thing before. It made her feel plain, like there was something wrong with not having a special interest. But to her surprise, he gently assures her that there's nothing strange about that. He reminds her she's still young and there's no pressure to figure everything out right away. What matters is that she enjoys what she's doing, and hearing this gives her some peace. She smiles and says she'll start with photography then, because she really does like it. Finally, he says it's time to return to the hotel so he can get ready for a dinner meeting with a business partner. As they stand up, we get to hear her thoughts. This was her first trip abroad with him, and it felt like the world was starting to open up for her. After this, he began taking her along on more business trips. Even if their marriage isn't built on love, he treats her kindly, like a real partner. And even though she knows the truth behind their arrangement, she quietly believes that maybe, just maybe, she can keep living like this, as long as she can stay by his side. We begin with a scene that feels both still and heavy. Our guy stands alone at his window, his silhouette almost lost in the cold light of night. He's quiet, but something in his posture says everything. Regret lingers in the air like fog, thick and unspoken. He takes a long sip of wine, like it's the only thing keeping the ache at bay. Then he walks slowly to the cupboard near his bed and opens it with care. From the back of the shelf, he pulls out a blue scarf, folded and carefully kept. The way he holds it, gently, like it's sacred, makes us pause. It's clearly not just any scarf. He tells himself it's the 7th Christmas without her. Just like that, we're swept into a memory, years behind, where the same scarf was first given to him by someone who lit up every part of his life. In the flashback, everything feels golden. His late fiancée beams with joy as she hands him the scarf, one she proudly knitted just for him. It's clumsy in the way handmade things are, but he holds it like it's a masterpiece. She teases that it makes him look even more handsome, and he fires back that he's always been handsome. With a playful pat on her head and an affectionate kiss, they fall into soft laughter. It's the kind of love that lives in the little things. But just when the moment feels comfortably warm, he surprises her with 2 passports, slipped into her hands like a secret gift. He tells her they're hers, an invitation to see the world together. Her eyes widen, half thinking it's a joke. But no, he's serious. He explains that after losing his grandparents, he no longer has anything anchoring him. The trust fund is his now, and so is the freedom to dream. He wants to spend a year with her, traveling, living, just being. Overwhelmed, she throws her arms around him, full of happiness, and we watch them wrap themselves in their shared future. Back in the present, he wraps that same scarf around his neck and looks through old photographs, snapshots of Paris, Rome, Dubai, memories frozen in time. As tears spill down his cheeks, he whispers her name softly, calling her his love, as if she might still hear him. We shift to a new place now, a quiet hospital hallway. Our girl walks in beside her mother-in-law, both carrying gentle expressions. They're here to visit Aunt Francine, who's still unconscious. Inside the room, there's a hush, like the air is listening. The older woman introduces herself kindly, saying she's always thought of our girl like a daughter. There's no tension here, just warmth and understanding. As they settle into chairs beside the hospital bed, our girl takes out a familiar book from her bag. It's become a little ritual of hers, reading aloud to Aunt Francine every visit, clinging to the doctor's advice that voices of loved ones might bring a patient back. She opens the book and begins, her voice soft and steady. Her mother-in-law listens in quiet respect, and for a while the room fills with something peaceful, almost sacred. Before leaving, our girl bends down gently and promises she'll come again next week, her words full of quiet hope, even though there's no sign her aunt hears them. But just as they exit the room and step into the hallway, a subtle tension creeps in. A man in a hoodie walks past with his head lowered, trying not to be noticed. But as he draws close, he suddenly stops. He lifts his head just slightly, eyes locking on our girl. Recognition flickers across his face like a switch being flipped. From our point of view, we know immediately he's her uncle. His stare lingers a moment too long before he mumbles something under his breath, clearly startled to see her in a hospital like this. Seeing her accompanied by the well-dressed older woman and visiting someone in such a private, upscale ward, he starts forming assumptions. In his mind, she's no longer the girl he once knew. Now she must be someone important's wife. And just like that, a dangerous curiosity wakes up in him. He decides he needs to know where she lives. As he slips away unnoticed, we can already feel it. This isn't the last time we'll see him. Something is coming, and it doesn't feel good. we're introduced to a moment that feels both warm and quietly painful. At 10 weeks pregnant, our girl lies on her bed, staring at the ceiling in a daze, still trying to wrap her head around the fact that this is her life now. The room is quiet, except for the distant hum of the city outside. Her hand rests gently on her belly as if trying to feel something, anything, that could make all this feel real. Suddenly, there's a knock on the door. She flinches slightly, quickly sitting up before calling out. The door creaks open, and there he is, our guy, walking in with a soft smile and a bouquet of fresh flowers in hand. He looks just like always, polished, warm, and slightly exhausted from the weight of his responsibilities. She smiles faintly, remembering how things used to be. Back then, whenever he traveled for work, he'd take her along without hesitation. He said it would help broaden her view of the world, make her feel included. But now, with the baby on the way, he's become more cautious. He won't let her move around much, won't take any chances. Even now, he tells her to stay in bed, gently reminding her that rest is important. But she insists she's fine, brushing it off with a small laugh and saying the nausea has finally calmed down. In the next moment, she notices the flowers and asks if they're for her. He nods and she beams. There's something soft in her eyes as she thanks him. He admits with a shrug that he never asked about her favorite flowers and hopes she likes these. She chuckles and tells him she loves any flowers he gives, meaning it, or at least trying to. But then he adds, almost too casually, that he had William pick them up and that next time she should just tell William what she prefers. That part stings a little. Her smile falters for half a second. Of course he didn't choose them himself. He's too busy, and truthfully, he's never even asked about her preferences. Still, she hides that tiny ache behind a quiet expression and moves on like it's nothing. As she stands in front of him, she softly asks how long he'll be gone this time. He says 10 days, he's headed to China, but promises to call every night. He leans forward, gently touches her belly with one hand, and murmurs something to the baby. From the outside, the moment looks picture perfect, a father bonding with his unborn child. But we, the audience, can feel the weight in her heart. Her eyes linger on him with a silent question. Does he ever wish it was someone else, maybe even his first love, carrying this child instead? She never says it out loud. She just watches as he picks up his coat and prepares to leave, aching to hug him tightly, to wish him well, to kiss him goodbye. But those wishes stay locked inside her chest. Once he's gone, the silence returns like a wave. She tries to laugh it off, muttering that it's probably just the pregnancy hormones making her feel overly sensitive. But somewhere deep down she knows, it's not hormones, it's the truth she can't ignore. He loves the baby. Not her. Outside, Noah walks toward his car, keys in hand, but his mind is far away. He thinks about the medical journey they went through, how out of 4 embryos only 1 took. And now, 10 weeks in, everything is going well. It should bring him joy. Instead, his thoughts drift to someone else, his late fiancé. He wonders what this moment would feel like if she were here. Would he be smiling more? Would he feel peace instead of restlessness? The ache doesn't leave, even as he drives off into the city. Inside the house, our girl curls up on the couch, already weighed down by the quiet emptiness he left behind. Days pass. She feels lonelier than she expected. Her mother-in-law lives too far, and she doesn't want to bother anyone else. He keeps his promise and calls every day, but the conversations are short. He sounds tired. Once he confirms the baby is fine, the calls end. To fight off the silence, she starts visiting her aunt more often, the only person who still makes her feel like herself. One quiet evening, after reading aloud to her aunt at the hospital, she steps outside, waiting in front for William to arrive. The sky is streaked with orange and pink, and she hugs her shawl tighter against the cool air. Suddenly, a man in a white coat approaches, looking like a doctor. He greets her by name and explains that William's car had a flat tire. He offers to get her a taxi instead, adding that William's phone had died. It feels off, but she hesitates. After a pause, she agrees and follows him to the curb. There, a white car is already parked, and a man in a cap sits waiting. Something doesn't sit right. As she studies the man's profile, a chill creeps down her spine. Her eyes widen. It's her uncle. Panic shoots through her, and she tries to back away. But before she can scream, the fake doctor shoves a cloth over her nose and mouth. Her uncle lunges, trying to grab her as well. She kicks and twists, fighting with every bit of strength she has. She manages to stomp on his foot, but it's not enough. He punches her in the stomach, and everything goes dark. She crumples to the ground, hands clutched to her belly. Just when we think it's over, a voice yells from behind. Someone charges at her uncle, knocking him down and shouting to stay away. She tries to warn her rescuer about the knife, but her body gives in to the pain. From her blurry vision, she only catches glimpses. A tattoo at the back of his neck, the way he calls someone on the phone, the steadiness in his voice. Then her world fades into silence. Previously, our girl had been waiting outside the hospital when a stranger pretending to be a doctor approached her with news about her driver. Unaware of the trap, she followed him and was ambushed by two men, one of them shockingly being her own uncle. Though she struggled to fight them off, she was struck in the stomach. Just as everything turned dark, a mysterious man intervened, rescuing her before she lost consciousness. She slowly opens her eyes to the morning light, unsure of her surroundings as a dull ache lingers in her body. A nurse, noticing that she's awake, immediately calls for the doctor. A woman in a white coat walks in quickly, standing beside the bed with concern in her voice as she greets our girl. Another doctor shines a light into her eyes, checking her reflexes. When she weakly asks where she is, they tell her she's in a hospital and that she's safe. But as soon as she asks if she's at the same hospital where her aunt is being treated, both doctors glance at each other, hesitating before the man gently answers. They brought her to Parkview Medical Center after someone found and rescued her from an attempted kidnapping. Everything starts replaying in her mind again. The man in the cap, the smell of the cloth, her uncle's face. Panic hits. She throws the covers aside to check her belly. A terrible chill runs through her as she sits up with wide eyes. Her voice trembles when she speaks, struggling to say the words out loud. Her uncle had hit her stomach. Over and over she repeats her fear, asking if the baby is okay. She hopes for reassurance, but the female doctor only looks down with a heavy expression, not saying a word. That silence grows louder than anything. The male doctor steps closer, trying to ease her panic, but her body keeps shaking. Finally, he explains the truth, that the baby had already passed before she was brought in, and they had to act quickly to save her life. The words break her. She screams at them, calling them liars, not wanting to believe a single word. The doctors don't argue. They exchange a knowing glance before the woman softly says a nurse will bring something to help her rest, and they'll talk more tomorrow. Our girl is left with the silence, her pain, and the empty space where her child once was. The nurse walks in shortly after and adds a sedative to the drip connected to her arm. Our girl doesn't resist. Her face remains still as tears stream down quietly, one after another, while the sleep takes hold of her. Somewhere between drifting off and staying awake, her thoughts begin to echo in her head. She remembers whispering to herself that the baby wasn't really hers, but that only confuses her more now. Why did it hurt so much? Was it wrong for her to feel like this? Later, the nurse gently brings a tray of food and softly pleads with her to eat so she can regain her strength. Our girl doesn't move at first. Her mind is still stuck on everything the nurse told her earlier, that the police had already found her kidnappers. Her Uncle James didn't make it. He was dead by the time they arrived. The other man was attacked in jail. There was still no word about the stranger who had saved her. Her hand moves slowly to the side of her stomach. The pain isn't just physical anymore. All she can do is cry, and she does, until even the tears seem to run dry. It feels like waking up in a different life where nothing makes sense. Her voice is weak when she finally speaks. She asks the nurse a question that's been weighing on her since the beginning. She wants to know if her husband came. The nurse quietly looks at her and then shakes her head, not saying a word. We're taken straight into a quiet hospital room where the nurse gently tries to calm the woman on the bed. She assures River that he will come soon, that Mr. DeMarco is probably just caught up with work. And even though she nods in return, deep down she's drowning in her own thoughts. The moment the nurse steps away, her eyes start to sting, and soon tears begin to fall again. The more she thinks about it, the more it hurts. She feels like she's crossed a line. After all, why would he show up for her when she's not even his real wife? She can't even fulfill her role in the agreement they made. She was meant to give him a child. Now, with that gone, what happens to her? Her chest tightens as she trembles, afraid that this failure means she might be asked to leave. Maybe he no longer needs her. Meanwhile, far from her hospital room, we see the man she longs for sitting inside a church. Noah looks worn out, lost in thought, questioning why he even bothers coming back here. He remembers being just a kid when he begged for his father's life, but his prayer was left unanswered. Years later, he pleaded again, this time for his late fiancé's healing. But it was the same silence, and now he's back in front of the altar, asking himself what's left. He's grieving a loss that hasn't stopped haunting him. The child he had dreamed of, the one carried by the woman he made a contract with, is gone. And it's not just the baby, it's the guilt, the fear, the uncertainty. There are only 2 embryos left, and even that comes with no promise. What if she can't carry them again? He wants to do what's right, but he's stuck. He can't ask her to stay when the purpose they agreed on is slipping away, and yet letting her go feels just as wrong. After all, she gave everything, her body, her trust. Even her innocence. Back at the hospital, the silence breaks when another figure enters the story. It's Noah's mother. She sits quietly by the bed, apologizing for coming late, but the young woman thanks her anyway. She's just grateful someone came. Then comes the question that changes the mood completely. Our girl wants to know if Noah will come. At first, it sounds simple, but his mother doesn't take it lightly. In fact, she's shocked. Has he really not come to see his own wife? She repeats the question to be sure, but the soft shake of River's head is all the answer she needs. Without another word, she gets up, clearly upset and heading straight for the door. And just when we think we've seen enough, the door opens. William steps in, holding a folder. He greets the woman standing by the door, but her eyes go straight to what he's carrying. She demands to know what it is. He tries to hide it, but it's too late. The camera catches it for us. A single sharp title printed across the folder, divorce paper. We're brought into a hospital room where things quickly grow tense. Our guy's personal assistant, clearly flustered, tries to hide a folder behind him, but it's too late. She pulls it from his hands, and the moment her eyes land on the contents, her expression changes. He gulps and says nothing, even though it's obvious he knows exactly what she just saw. And just when we think the room couldn't get heavier, our girl finally notices him and demands to know if our guy sent him. She asks again and again, wanting to know where he is, if he's coming, and why he hasn't spoken to her. The personal assistant, surprised, asks if our guy hadn't already come by. Her silence gives him the answer. And as if we haven't already sensed the weight in the room, our guy's mother steps in, demanding the same answers. Where her son is, why he hasn't shown up, and if he's truly been avoiding his wife all this time. Her voice doesn't rise, but there's this sharpness to it that slices through the tension like glass. The assistant fumbles for words, caught between 2 women asking the same thing for different reasons. Our girl tightens her grip on the folder, not even blinking as she finally opens it, revealing page after page of reports. Her eyes flick through them, but it's clear she's not really reading anymore. What hits harder isn't the paperwork, it's the realization. Everything is happening behind her back, decisions made without a single word to her. The assistant tries to explain that he was only following orders, that he didn't know she would find out like this, but that only makes it worse. Her hands shake, but she doesn't say a word. And then, as if the moment wasn't already on the edge, his mother steps closer to the bed and quietly asks one more time, "Did he not even call?" The question hangs in the air, heavy and cold. She doesn't answer. She just closes the folder and places it beside her like it weighs 1,000 pounds. For a moment, no one moves. The assistant looks away, clearly uncomfortable, while his mother's eyes search her face for something. Anger, maybe? Disappointment. But there's only this hollow calm. From the audience's side, it's hard not to feel the pressure closing in, like the walls of the room are shrinking. Everyone's talking about him, but he's not here. Not even a message. Not even a lie to soften the blow. And that silence says more than anything else could. He responds, letting her know that our guy is at the hospital chapel. Our guy's mother freezes at this and then quietly sighs. She says nothing more and walks over to our girl to ask politely if she can be excused for a bit. Our girl nods, though her frustration shows as she grabs her blanket tightly. The silence is soon filled again when our guy's driver tries to comfort her, apologizing and saying he can't imagine the pain she's going through. But she doesn't reply. She just stares down at the bedsheet, lost in grief. He continues, explaining that our guy did visit several times, but just couldn't face her. And then we hear something we didn't expect. She says the baby was his child with his late fiancé, and that while he must be grieving, all she thought about was her own pain. She calls herself selfish, and the tears finally fall. Our guy's driver gently holds her hand and tells her that nobody could ask her to push aside her grief. He reminds her that her loss is just as deep and painful. He repeats that Noah doesn't mean to hurt her. He's simply bad at dealing with pain. Maybe, he suggests, she could give our guy time. And for the first time, she manages a small smile. She tells him he's always been kind to her and that she's thankful. Then she shocks him with a question. Was that document for a divorce? He's surprised she could ask that so calmly, and he throws the question back at her, but she doesn't answer. Instead, she asks again, this time wanting to know if our guy wants it. Our guy's driver gently explains that our guy isn't sure of anything right now, so he asked him to come and ask her instead, if she wanted to end the contract early. The paper is just a way to write down whatever she wants. But then she clutches her chest in pain and says she doesn't want a divorce. At that moment, our guy's mother walks into the quiet hospital chapel. She sees her son sitting in the front row, head bowed, hands folded. She quietly sits beside him. He lifts his head and looks surprised to see her. His face looks tired, his beard unshaven. He softly asks when she arrived. She doesn't answer but hugs him right away, and he hugs her back tightly like he had been waiting for someone to hold him. They stay like that for a while, before letting go. She tells him that our girl is suffering too, and that she deserves to know he doesn't blame her. Our guy still looks distant. He says he believes God hates him, that maybe he's paying for something terrible he did before. He says everything he loves gets taken from him, and now that even his late fiancé's child is gone, our girl deserves to be free of his sorrow. He believes he can't give her peace or happiness and should let her go. His mother is stunned to hear his reason. She realizes he never blamed our girl for the loss. In fact, he feels guilty and grateful that she risked her life trying to protect their baby. She reminds him that our girl doesn't know any of this. Without hearing it from him, she'll keep blaming herself. But he's afraid to face her, afraid he won't be kind. She gently urges him not to fake anything. She says our girl will understand and that he'll regret pushing her away. Then she shows him the folder she took from William. She warns him not to make decisions out of pain and reminds him that our girl is irreplaceable. She even asks what he plans to do with the embryos, if he'll marry someone like Amelia to carry them. Her words hit him hard. Still, he hesitates. He talks about the embryos that didn't grow, says there are only 2 left, and wonders if maybe none will survive. If that happens, he feels he'll have no reason to stay. He admits that maybe his late fiancé wants him to be with her again. And if that's true, he says he wouldn't mind. No, he'd gladly go. Previously, our guy's mother found him in the chapel, broken and blaming himself for everything. She reminded him that our girl was also suffering, and that leaving her without a word would only hurt them both. He confessed he never blamed our girl for the miscarriage, and that he still felt bound to his late fiancé's memory. But he also admitted to feeling hopeless and unsure about continuing with the remaining embryos. His mother begged him not to make a decision while hurting and told him that our girl might be the only one who truly understands him. The next day, our guy finally shows up at the hospital. He knocks gently before walking into the room, only to find out girl already in a wheelchair, being pushed out by a nurse. She looks shocked to see him. Without a word, he quietly takes over from the nurse and begins to wheel her toward the exit, where a car waits. Our guy's driver opens the door ahead of time, sensing their approach. As they reach the vehicle, our girl tries to stand and get in herself, but our guy gently stops her and suddenly lifts her into his arms, placing her inside. He says it's time to go home before joining her on the other side. The ride is quiet. Our girl glances at him a few times but struggles to find the right words. He finally notices and asks why she keeps looking at him. She pleads not to be sent away, trembling as she speaks, but he tells her this isn't the place for such a talk. She nods, understanding. At home, they sit across from each other at the table. He asks why she doesn't want the divorce, saying our guy's driver told him everything. She reminds him she has nowhere else to go and asks if she can stay until he finds someone to replace her. She promises to stay out of his way and not be a bother. He asks what makes her think he wants someone new. She explains that it's only natural, after losing the baby, that he would want to try again with someone else. She believes she failed and thinks he would look for another woman to carry the remaining embryos. He sighs deeply before answering. He admits the embryos are still there, but he's not ready to try again. The thought of losing another child is too much, and he couldn't bear it. He says he might change his mind in a few years, but not now. He tells her he doesn't want to tie her down or leave her waiting, and he offers to make sure she lives comfortably with money to support her future. She listens but doesn't stay seated. She slowly walks over and takes his hand, telling him she has no one else in the world. Her aunt is in the hospital, and our guy is the only person she considers family. She says she's grieving too. She loved the child as if it were her own, and now she doesn't know how to carry this pain alone. She asks to stay by his side while he figures things out. From the audience's eyes, it's clear she doesn't want to leave him, and he never truly wanted her to go either. Everything just got buried under the weight of pain. She finally speaks up, her voice steady, even though her eyes hold everything she's feeling. She says that if after some years he decides not to use the embryos, or if he finds someone else to take on the role, or even if he falls in love again and wants to build a new life, then she will leave quietly without complaints. But until then, she asks if she can just stay. Her words are calm, but there's a deep strength in them that surprises him. He looks at her, stunned by her resolve. He asks again, almost unsure of her reasons, wanting to know what she truly gains by staying. She simply repeats what she told him before. He's the only person she has left. He exhales softly, finding her honesty strange, but also strangely comforting. He wonders what he's supposed to do with someone like her. Then his eyes catch the way her hands are shaking. Without saying anything, he steps forward and gently takes them in his own, just to steady her. He tells her quietly that he isn't easy to be around right now, but he hopes she understands. She nods right away and says she does. He admits that he's unsure about what he'll do with the embryos in the future, but since there's no one else in his life at the moment, he offers to let her stay with him and keep playing the role of his wife until she's no longer needed or until she wants to end things. He reminds her that this is still a practical agreement and that the foundation hasn't changed. No romance, no expectations, just mutual benefit. She listens carefully and agrees. He adds one more condition. He says that while she's with him, he won't bring another woman into his life, and he will treat her well. But he doesn't want her to get the wrong idea or assume his kindness means something deeper. He's trying to protect both of them, and he wants that to be clear. She smiles softly as she tells him she understands. She says she knows he's a good man, and she promises she won't misread his kindness. He can trust her, and she means it. From where we're watching, it's obvious that she isn't clinging out of desperation. She's simply choosing the only place that still feels safe. Her words make something loosen in him. He thanks her sincerely, saying she's helped settle his troubled heart. And just like that, without warning, he leans in close and kisses her. It isn't rushed or dramatic. It's quiet, like an unspoken promise between two people trying to figure out where they stand in the silence of everything they've lost. If you're eager for the next chapter, drop a comment expressing your interest in a part 3. Don't forget to subscribe and ensure to hit the notification bell to stay updated. Until next time.